I came when I was 3 years old. I don't really remember anything about Mexico. So to me, Iowa is definitely my home. And definitely United States is where I was cultured, I grew up in. This is the society that I know, that I'm educated in.
I've lived here, I spent time here, I've grown up here, I went to school here, I go to school here.
I honestly know more about the United States than I do my own country.
I haven't been back since I came here, and that's about to be 10 years. So most of my life I've lived here.
I don't consider Mexico my home because I didn't grow up there. I didn't experience anything monumental in my life there. All of my monumental moments in life have been here in the US. I've met the person I plan to spend the rest of my life here. I had my daughter here. I graduated from high school here. I had my quinceañera, which is a coming of age celebration here. Everything in my life, from my first bullying experience to first love, first heartbreak, everything has been here. So I would never consider any other country my home.
We immigrated to the United States from Mazatlan, Sinaloa, and we did so because my mom was experiencing a lot of domestic violence at home from my biological father. And it had gotten to the point that she didn't know if she was going to survive the next beating.
We decided to leave El Salvador because at the time the gang violence was arising, and you would hear about 13 or 14-year-old girls who were getting, initiated into these gangs, and, they were made into sex slaves. And at the time I was 11. So, I was coming of age, and my parents feared for my security, my safety, and also my little brother. They really do start targeting little boys and initiating them into these gangs without these little kids don't know what they're doing. So that was a fear that my parents had, and they knew that we didn't have a future there.
I came here when I was 9. Well, I turned here 9. I was raised with my grandmother because my mom, when I was a year and 2 months, she moved here in California so she could get supply. She could, benefit me. And after 2 years, she told me if I wanted to come here with them because, it was hard for her and me being already at that age and not be able to see my mom. And then at first I was kind of scared because, I didn't know how I was going to get here, And then my uncle, he said he would bring me here hasta Texas, San Antonio. Well, I was there for about 2 weeks until he said, it's time to go. And then I recall it, I did cry because like, your uncle can't come with you anymore from this point on. I cried because it was my first time actually being without a parent or a relative. We ended up getting here January 11th, like around 9 in the morning. First people saw was my stepdad, my uncle, and my mom. I was really happy to see my mom. It was just a good moment, remember it.
I remember growing up and realizing what kind of restrictions I had, the legal restrictions I had, where I didn't have a social security number. I always knew it. I knew I didn't have papeles or papers, but I didn't know how bad it could affect me.
When I was a junior in high school, I asked my guidance counselor about attending college because I was big on it. I wanted to continue my education. So we were in Hawkeye Community College. I asked her, I was like, well, what if you don't have like a social security number? And she looked amazed. I was like, you don't have a social security number? I was like, no, I wasn't born here.
My parents made the decision not to tell me I was undocumented. So I basically went through elementary school, middle school, and high school not knowing that I couldn't go to college or that I couldn't get a driver's license or that I couldn't, in my mind, at that point I was going to join the military.
I couldn't get any loans or any credit of any sort. I was working very dead-end jobs that didn't pay very well, and I had to basically pay everything out of pocket then to come here to UNI.
I felt like it wasn't fair. I felt like I was seeing all these kids that didn't really have to try in school, but at the end of the senior year, they were going to be able to go to college. They were going to be able to have like 5 or 6 colleges to choose from, and I wasn't going to have that, so I was very angry.
Basically, the dream of being someone who changes the world, in my view, had ended at that point.
The doors that DACA was able to open were enormous, and they were really, really good. It helped propel me to have upward mobility, something that had always been closed to me before.
So right now I'm a senior at Drake University. Tuition is quite expensive, and without DACA, I wouldn't be able to afford Drake at all.
I started applying to a lot of colleges, and I got my first job, and I got my license.
I work now for a mortgage servicing company. That's a job that I never would have been able to obtain previously without having a social security number to apply for that job and work authorization. So it feels really nice that I get to be paid what I deserve for a job that I am very qualified for.
It lifts a cloud over you, and you feel as if you're getting there almost. That you're almost at that dream of being recognized as an individual in the eyes of the state, and you're almost there. But that's not to say that DACA doesn't have issues of its own. And one of the best phrases that I know of is that DACA is a Band-Aid over a gashing wound that is bleeding a lot.
So what DACA does is it helps by giving us at least some form of belonging by letting us have a social security number, and in some states, a driver's license gives us an identity here in the United States, so we are no longer invisible, but we are still not on a pathway to citizenship. We still are under this just temporary status where if the next president comes along and if they were to decide to take away DACA, all of these opportunities, everything that we've mounted, everything that we've been able to gain through DACA would be taken away as if we had not earned it.
If they take DACA or DAPA away, I would be at a loss. I would lose my job. I would be unable to afford any of my bills now, and then I'd most likely be deported from the country and lose my family, the 2 people that I care most about in this world now, my fiance and my daughter.
With the immigration system as it is, there are so many families that have a mixed status family. Some people are US citizens and some of them are still undocumented. What those families have to live with is the threat of separation at any point. At any point. Little kids that belong to undocumented families, they live with that stress that their parents might not come home someday.
People really need to understand that it's about keeping families together. It's not about taking jobs away. It's not about just black and white deporting everyone that didn't follow the right method to come here. Unfortunately, a lot of us as childhood arrivals didn't have the option to say, no, don't bring me to this new country where I wouldn't be a part of.
I want DACA recipients to know that their parents are safe just like they are. Even though this is just a temporary solution, I would like to see something more concrete, something that will fix the problems.
What we want to accomplish is comprehensive immigration reform. And what I mean by that is a pathway to citizenship for the people that are already here, that have established a life here, that are contributing members of their communities.
I think I am contributing a lot to our society from educating others, showing them that higher education is a possibility.
So for me, it would be to open doors for other people to give back to the community, engage with the younger generation, and show them that you can succeed.
Showing other kids that just because you're different from, well, you're not different, but just because you're of a different race from everybody doesn't make you any less.
I mean, I'm very hopeful for the future, even though at times the cards are stacked against us. And I use the royal us because it's not just me who's undocumented, there are millions of us. And my situation probably happened to another student in California or in New England or in other parts of the country. And we're ever present, we're here. And it's time that the country recognizes us, and it's time that politicians recognize us for who we are.